everyone, how are y'all doing? I just wanted to come to you guys again today, just a little bit more raw and unscripted. I don't have any kind of notes with me or anything like that. I just wanted to talk about something that happened the other night. So I watched the movie I Still Believe. And I mean, we review movies here. This is not a Disney movie, but usually I hate Christian movies. If you are someone who loves Christian media in every way, this review is probably not going to make you extremely happy. But I Still Believe was an incredible movie. I've been thinking about this movie now for the last couple of days, and usually when that happens, I just feel like I need to get it out of me and I just need to talk about it. And I choose you to talk about it with. This movie was really good, and it made me feel in ways that I haven't felt in a long time. The thing that I really hate the most about Christian movies is that they are made very much just to affirm the Christian person and very much to make sure that anyone who does not stand in those Christian lines is all very villainous. Now, not every Christian movie does that, but most of them do. Like, you'll have the atheist character who beats his wife and gets drunk every night and just berates his wife or his children, or doesn't care about any kind of charity or anything like that because they're a nihilist person, I guess. In my experience, at least, this is very much not true of atheist people, and it's the same thing with people across the board. Yes, people who are not Christians obviously don't believe like me. They obviously have a lot of differences of opinion and differences of belief from me, so I get that completely, but to show them as straight up villainous people is both very untrue and very harmful. This movie doesn't pull any of those moments. It really had no villain of the story except for the circumstances itself. So I feel like I have to kind of explain a little bit about my backstory. So I've been raised Christian. I was a worship leader for a long time, and was going for worship leading while I was in school. In school, also as at a private Christian university, is where I met my wife. And when I was a child, in like 7th, 8th grade, my mom developed breast cancer. She's been cancer free for, holy crap, 15 years? Has it been 15 years? Maybe longer than that. Anyway, I'm bad at the math. So this movie caught me in a couple of different places where it really, really tugged at my heartstrings. Beyond that, then also, after, as most of you know, because much of the early days of this channel was very much dedicated to my divorce. It was me just reasoning out and trying to figure out and work through my divorce on camera, talking to you guys, which is completely fine. I really have no problem with that at all. To me, it really helps, obviously, for me to talk things out and for me to work through things, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. We had a baby. We'd lived out in South Dakota for a long time. We'd had a baby. And then when we moved back here, it became very clear that she had developed a plan and she divorced me. So I'm going to try not to say too many like really negative things about that, because that is not at all the point of this review. Because of my background, I felt like I would never, ever have to go through something like that. I felt like I would never get divorced. Once I got married, I was married for good, and it was never going to change. While I was trying to work through that divorce, there were so many times when I just felt angry with God. And I've continued going to church. I was even a worship leader for a while after the divorce and through the divorce, during the divorce. And I mean, I was legitimately still loving God. I had to make that decision. I had to decide that I was going to make that decision to love God. And that's something that's not new to me. When I was in high school, I did the same thing. When my mom developed breast cancer, and I was in 7th grade, and I felt this moment when I needed to make a choice. I needed to make a choice between, am I going to still believe in God and believe that even though I think that God is in control, he at least allowed this to happen to my mom. And I'm still going to believe in him, and I'm still going to trust him, and I'm still going to love him, or I'm going to turn from him and decide to hate him. And in my own decision, was that I was going to decide to love God. And my family, we grew really, really close together during that time. It's actually a really sweet time to me now, because we all decided that we were going to really pull together and love God. And that's actually also during the time when we went to Disney World for the very first time. So this whole thing behind me is all kind of related to that time. So everything that I enjoy in life right now are things that came out of that really bad time. So I've seen God work through bad things. And I believe that he does work through bad things. I know that maybe I know that there are a lot of people in my audience who believe different things. I respect that very much, but I also am going to be true to myself and tell you what I believe. And I do believe that God works in times that are bad. So anyway, this movie now, at this point, there may very well be spoilers. Please don't watch if you don't want to hear spoilers. This movie is about a young man who meets a girl in college, very much like me, at a private Christian university, and wants to be a musician and wants to make it big. I never had aspirations to make it big. I think I have a decent voice and definitely good enough to lead worship, but I am no American Idol. Let's just put it that way. In this movie, this kid wants to basically become a big Christian rock star. I loved this movie because it didn't sugarcoat things. Like, it showed immediately that Jeremy Camp just from the very beginning wanted to just make it big. He wanted to be a musician. He wanted to be able to sing. It wasn't all about the message. The Christian music industry really isn't much different than the music industry altogether. So even though I do believe that there are Christian musicians who have very good intentions, they're also surrounded by a lot of just industry people who are trying to sell records. He ends up going to this first concert of this group, and then while he's at that concert, he sees this girl and like immediately falls head over heels for her. And that's a lot of what this story is all about, is the head over heels desire that he has for this girl. So he falls madly in love with her really, really fast. There's a bit of conflict between him and a couple of different characters, and then this girl goes home, and while she's at home, she finds out through some pain that she's been having that she has a huge tumor in her stomach that needs to be taken care of. And this girl has a faith that's very, very strong. And this guy who she's been dating, Jeremy Camp, begins to kind of make it big while he starts to just simply choose her. These two actors that they have, I know one of them is KJ Apa. I believe his name is Appa. I don't really know how you say his name. Anyway, he is a great actor. And the girl that plays off of him is a great actress also. Which is why I think this movie, I think a lot of these actors also saw something different in this movie, because this movie doesn't sugarcoat questions that you have in bad times. Like I said earlier, I went through a time when my mom had breast cancer. Recently, I went through a time when I was getting divorced, and I was dealing with not being able to see my daughter, and I was going through some really hard emotional times. There are still a lot of questions in me about why I've gone through divorce and why my daughter had to go through it. I do believe that God has a plan, that I'm in this for a reason with my daughter. My daughter needs a dad, and she has a stepdad now, but she needs her dad. And I think there are a lot of guys who walk away, and I've seen that pattern happen in so many different people's lives. And I want to be the one who breaks that curse. So in this movie, that happens. They even get to the point where they have prayed for this girl because she doesn't want to have to not have kids and have a hysterectomy to get rid of all of the cancer. And she doesn't go through with the hysterectomy. And they pray, and the doctors say that there is no more cancer. There may not have been. I have no idea what happened. I do know that I believe very much that doctors are very good things. Doctors are things that God works through. I think there are sometimes people who are Christian, or especially more conservative Christian, maybe, I don't know, who believe that doctors are bad things, because we should just rely on God. I think even with this coronavirus thing, I mean, we have doctors all over the world who are telling us, stop, stop, get in your house, be safe, be still, and just trust us. It's gonna go away. We need to work together to let this thing go away. But there are so many people who are resistant to it, and I think it's very important that we realize that these doctors do have our best interest at heart. They are people who are worked through by God, whether they're believers or not. I think in this movie, it looked to me, maybe I'm just still a little bit cynical, but it looked to me like they were wishfully thinking that she had been completely healed. And I have seen so many people do that. I've seen so many people while I worked in the church where they would say that they were healed, but then 2 years later, they are gone from cancer because they stopped with treatments and they stopped. Don't do that. Don't do that. Anyway, so there was even a message there that I just felt was really timely within this movie. She was healed from this cancer. The two of them went on their honeymoon. They were so happy, had a great time, and then it looks like even in real life, she was gone 3 months later. It's gut-wrenching because a lot of times I don't understand why things happen. I don't understand why people get sick. I don't understand why my mom had cancer. I guess I really don't even understand why she's still here and why others aren't. I mean, I know why she's here for me, but why are others not here for others? And I don't have answers. And I don't like it that I don't have answers. I don't have answers for these questions, and they didn't really have answers either. But they did say that sometimes people leave different kinds of marks on society and on the world, and God sees that whole big picture. And that is what I believe. I believe that God knows the whole big picture. I don't understand it all, and I'm never going to claim to understand it. But that's what I loved about this movie, is it left us with questions. And that's why I felt so much, because I'll never have complete closure as to why I'm not with my family anymore. I'll never have complete closure as to why the things that have happened in my life happened to me the way that they happened to me. But I still can trust God. And I always will trust God. And I feel like I've been so cynical in the last couple of years. And that's part of my brand. And I want to continue to be cynical. I like to take a cynical look at Disney movies. I think it's fun. But I feel like I've felt for the first time in 5 years more than I have felt in a long time. And I'm really happy for tears. And I don't know who this is for. I don't know if this is just for me. If I can pray for you, I want to pray for you. If I can love someone in my small but very awesome group of people who follow me on YouTube, I want to be there for you. Let me know down in the comments what you think, or send me a private message on Insta or on Facebook or wherever you want to find some way to connect with me. I'll leave some stuff down below, but I guess that's just a little bit of my testimony. I've seen God work a lot in the past, and I've seen God work now, and I've gone through years of feeling like I knew that God was there, but I didn't really believe, I guess. And I think sometimes it's just important to ask those questions and to be honest. And I think especially as a Christian person who likes to talk about God, I think a lot of people get tired of hearing Christian people say that everything's perfect or that God makes everything perfect. Because believing in God doesn't make anything perfect. It doesn't. The only thing that believing in God makes perfect is that we have a hope that beyond death, there's something much, much better that's not just emptiness. I still believe is one of the best Christian movies I've ever seen. And not only is it one of the best Christian movies, it's one of the best movies in general that I have seen in the last couple of years. I very much recommend for any of you to go see it, regardless of what you believe or how you feel about God. This is a great movie, and it's a great story about someone else's experiences that I think anyone can appreciate. I recommend for you guys to go see it. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for letting me just be a little bit vulnerable with you guys. I love being able to come and talk with you. You have a great day. Everybody stay safe and stay healthy.